Today, we're diving into the story of the world's most exclusive, and let's be real, most dangerous club, the Nuclear Weapons Club. It's an absolutely wild tale of ambition, fear, betrayal, and of course, some world-changing science. So, let's get into it.
Right now, on planet Earth, there are only 10 countries that have the power to start a nuclear war. Just 10. These are the nations nobody wants to mess with, because a single bad decision, a single misstep, could kick off a global catastrophe.
And that's really the big question, isn't it? How did they pull it off? What's so fascinating is that no two countries took the same path. Every nation's story is this unique mix of scientific genius, high-stakes politics, and yeah, a whole lot of spying.
I mean, you've got some who learned from a powerful friend. Others just straight up stole the technology from right under their enemies' noses. A few poured everything they had into top-secret projects that lasted for decades. But for the very first member of this club, it all started as a desperate race against a truly terrifying enemy.
You know, our story doesn't actually start in America. It starts in a German lab, way back in 1938. A scientific discovery was about to change everything, and it sparked a fear that would launch the most massive military project in human history.
Okay, so here's the play-by-play. In 1938, German scientists figure out how to split a uranium atom, releasing a crazy amount of energy. A year later, the world's most famous scientist, Albert Einstein, realizes the horrific potential here and sends a letter to the US president. And the response? The Manhattan Project, this massive, top-secret program to build the bomb first. And by 1945, they do it. The world is never the same again.
And this is the key. The entire American effort, all of it, was driven by the terrifying thought that Nazi Germany could get this weapon first. Einstein's warning basically lit a fire under the US government. This wasn't just a race for a military edge. For them, it felt like a race for the survival of the free world.
And the scale of this thing, it was just staggering. The Manhattan Project cost around $2 billion back then. To put that in perspective, that's like 500 trillion rupiah today. Just an unbelievable amount of money poured into creating a single weapon, all born out of fear.
So World War II ends, but it doesn't really bring peace. Instead, America's new nuclear monopoly kicks off a completely new and, frankly, even more terrifying era, the Cold War. The first domino had just fallen, and a whole bunch of others were about to follow, setting off a global arms race.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because the motivations for the next three countries were totally different. You had the Soviet Union, driven by pure fear of America. Then the United Kingdom, who felt completely betrayed, and France, who just wanted to stand on its own 2 feet. For all of them, the logic was becoming crystal clear. In this new atomic age, the only real security came from having the same power as your rivals.
The Soviet story is something straight out of a Cold War spy movie. So, when President Truman tells Stalin about America's powerful new weapon in 1945, Stalin just kinda calmly nods. Why? Because his spies inside the Manhattan Project had already told him everything. But the Soviets were smart. They didn't just trust the stolen data. They ran their own research alongside it, just to make sure it wasn't some elaborate American trick.
For the United Kingdom, their path was really paved with a sense of betrayal. I mean, British scientists were crucial to the Manhattan Project, and they had an agreement with the US to share all the final results. But as soon as the bomb was built, America slammed the door shut, keeping the secrets for itself. So feeling stabbed in the back by their closest ally, the British just used their own research to build their own bomb, and they did it pretty quickly.
Okay, let's shift gears to the next wave of countries, because this is where the game really changes. The motivation isn't just about the USA versus the USSR anymore. Now it's about intense, bitter conflicts between neighboring countries. This is when the nuclear club starts expanding into some really volatile parts of the world. And China's story is all about incredible speed. They got their start with some help from their Soviet big brother, but after the two countries had a big political falling out, the Soviets packed up and left. You'd think that would stop them, right? Nope. China went it alone. And not only did they succeed, they did it at a record-breaking pace. It took them just 32 months to go from their first atomic bomb to a much, much more powerful hydrogen bomb. A record that, by the way, still stands today.
And then you have Israel. This is the one country that has a strict policy of nuclear ambiguity. What does that mean? Well, they've never, ever officially confirmed or denied that they have nuclear weapons, which makes it the world's most famous and probably the worst-kept secret.
The whole story is just incredible. It kicked off with some secret help from France. Then, For years, they masterfully dodged demands from the US to inspect their secret facility out in the desert. The truth only really blew up in 1986 when a technician, a guy named Mordechai Vanunu, leaked photos and documents to the press. And for his trouble, he was lured into a trap by a Mossad agent, kidnapped, and thrown in jail for 18 years.
Now, India, they played a very, very clever game. Their big motivation was their rivalry with China, so they accepted all this international help for a civilian nuclear energy program. But behind the scenes, they were secretly siphoning off the technology and materials to build a weapon. And when they finally tested it in 1974, they gave it the code name Smiling Buddha and tried to tell the world it was just a peaceful nuclear explosion. Nobody was buying it.
All right, this next phase of the story is, well, it's probably the most alarming. This is when the nuclear secrets stop being held just by governments. They start to spread through this shady underworld of theft, black markets, and rogue scientists. And this brings us to a really unique story: South Africa. During the Cold War, the apartheid regime was paranoid about Soviet influence in the region, so they went ahead and built 6 nuclear bombs. But then, as apartheid was collapsing, they made a decision that no other country has ever made. They dismantled their entire arsenal, becoming the only nation in history to build nuclear weapons, and then just give them all up.
For Pakistan, the motivation was simple, and it was intense. India. After a humiliating military defeat, and then watching India test its Smiling Buddha, their prime minister made this now famous vow. This wasn't about being a global superpower. This was about pure survival against their #1 rival. A whole new nuclear arms race was on.
So how did they do it? Well, they had a secret weapon, a scientist named A.Q. Khan, and his method was dangerously simple. First, he stole top-secret plans for uranium enrichment from a facility in the Netherlands where he worked. Second, he used those plans to build Pakistan's bomb. And third, and this is the part that terrified the world, he set up his own private black market, selling the deadliest technology on Earth to the highest bidder. And who were his customers? Khan's network spread nuclear know-how to some of the world's most isolated regimes. We're talking Iran, Libya, and, crucially, North Korea. This illicit trade completely changed the game, making it easier than ever for a country to get its hands on the bomb.
And that brings us to the 10th, and for now, final member of the club, North Korea. For decades, the regime saw a nuke as the ultimate insurance policy for its own survival. After getting turned down by both the Soviet Union and China, they turned to A.Q. Khan's network. And that help was what they needed to finally get over the finish line and join the nuclear club in 2006.
So after this whole journey of science, spying, and raw ambition, we end up at this really profound and honestly terrifying irony. It's the central paradox of the entire nuclear age. And this is the main takeaway, right? The entire story of the atomic age started with the fear of what an enemy might do with this weapon. And today, the only thing that's really stopping these weapons from being used is that same shared fear of mutually assured destruction. It is a very, very unstable kind of peace, built on the threat of total annihilation.
This delicate balance of terror has somehow, against all odds, kept the major powers from going to war for over 75 years. But as technology spreads and new tensions pop up all over the world, you just have to ask yourself, how much longer can this fearful peace really last?